All right. We still have a few more people outside, I think. Come on in. Come on in. Please sit down. All right. So we're going to kick off now. It is 6:30. Welcome everyone to Cloud Native London. Uh, let me. Yep. We are a strong, open, diverse developer community around the cloud native platform and technologies in London. Now celebrating our 7th year. I was reminded about this last time when Kubernetes has been around for 10 years because it was the 10th anniversary last time. And we've been around for 7 years. So we've been around for a good portion of Kubernetes life. I'm your host, Cheryl. You can find me online at oycheryl.com. Tonight, we have 3 speakers for you. So the first talk is going to be the connection code, mastering communication in the tech age. Our second speaker will talk about building depth in teams. Then we're going to take a 15-minute break at 7:45, come back at 8 o'clock for zero downtime of the data layer. At 8:30, we're going to wrap up here and we're going to go to the conductor pub, which is just out of the building on the left, and keep chatting. Our sponsor tonight is Cloudified. Do I have a person from Cloudified here tonight? Okay, we do not. Okay, I would usually have a spiel for them, but I don't have one on hand, so thank you very much. It's in the notes. Okay. All right, let me read it out from the notes. Cloudified helps businesses reduce their cloud costs through holistic infrastructure and architecture review services. Thank you very much to Cloudified tonight for paying for our pizza and drinks. Okay, a little bit of live polling, find out about you. So please grab your phones and go to this link. I'm going to do 2 questions about yourself and then 3 questions about how you use cloud native. And it's going to go to this website called Poll Everywhere, so you don't need to download any apps or anything like that. Okay. Good practice for tomorrow's polling. Well, it'd be much faster if they use something like this. Can you imagine? Just pop up a QR code and everyone could vote in a moment. Okay. Is this your first time at Cloud Native London? So you should see a yes and a no option. So just press if it's your first time or not. We also have some folks joining us on the YouTube and Twitch live stream. So they might take a few seconds to check this out. Looks like we have about 1/3 of people joining for the first time, then about 2/3 of people who are returning. Oh, I think the yeses are now starting to catch up a little bit. Oh, we're going to get to 50-50. Ooh, maybe not, maybe not. Okay. Okay. All right. Still a couple of people answering, but we'll move on to the next question. What's your job title? So pick whatever's closest. Your options are architect, application developer, backend developer, engineering manager, DevOps/platform engineer, security engineer, or anything else. DevOps and platform engineers showing pretty strong tonight. We've got a nice pretty even split across all of the others. So that's quite nice. All right, people have got the hang of this polling. So, what communication challenge do you face most often in the tech industry? So, clearly explaining complex technical concepts to non-technical audiences, delivering constructive criticism in a way that's both honest and encouraging, fostering effective communication within a remote or distributed team, or all of the above. So, what are the answers looking like? I think people might be changing their minds a little bit as they're looking through these. Lots of people saying all of the above. So this question comes from Emmanuel, our first speaker. So 50% of people are saying it's all of them. I guess, is that what you were expecting with this question? Yeah, yeah. I think definitely I would have a hard time sort of picking one answer out of these. Okay, next question. If you could have any famous rock star join your team, who would it be? Freddie Mercury for creativity and stage presence, Jimi Hendrix for technical skill and innovation, Stevie Nicks for lyrical talent and charisma, Dave Grohl for versatility and teamwork, or Beyonce for leadership and drive? I'll let people have a think about this one. This is a difficult question. Beyonce coming in strong. All right, this question comes from Shane, who's on joining us over Zoom tonight. So, Shane, are you there? You want to unmute and say hello?
Yeah. Hello, I'm here.
Hi, Shane. So, yeah, what were you expecting from this?
I just thought it was a fun question, and it has something to do with my building depth and teams talk. So just curious where everyone was falling on this one.
Okay, I'm going to be very interested to see how this plays into your talk later. All right, thank you, Shane. And our third question, do you have zero downtime of your database layer? Yes, no, unsure, no, but we would like it. Okay, also, people are thinking, no, not a very clear answer on this one. So, Kester, this is your question. Um, Anything surprise you about these answers? What's the surprising bit? Yeah. I'm like, how many people are saying yes here? Like, yeah. I I kind of would agree with that. So yeah, we will see. I maybe people will find out from your talk and change their mind about this answer. All right, thank you very much for joining in the live polling. Keep hold of this link because we'll do questions to Q&A to the speakers through this service as well. I need a selfie for social media, so everyone just hang on. And if you would like to come and speak on this stage, you can go to cloudnativelund.com. We have speaking slots at the end of the year. You can also sponsor our events and help us support the community, support open source, pay for pizza and drinks, or you can promote your own events if you're running conferences and events yourself. So everything's at cloudnativelund.com. And that's it. I'm going to hand over to Emmanuel now. So please, round of applause. Welcome Emmanuel to the stage.
Good evening, all. My name is Emmanuel. Please, can I know your names? It's kind of surprising that from the polling question, majority said all of the above. So that tells me that communication is a very difficult problem for tech professionals. Do we agree with that? Yes? Now, some people say that tech professionals are introverts. Is that true? Wow. Is it because they think that tech professionals are glued to their systems and laptops? Okay. I have only one word tonight. We need to get off the keyboard and start speaking to each other. Please, can we say that? Get off the keyboard and start speaking to each other. In tech, whatever technology you have must be sold. And there's somebody somewhere who has to pay for it. If there's no connection, if there's no communication, it is absolutely impossible for you to convert a prospect to a customer to a client. Do we agree with that? Now, can we just imagine you are having a very important phone call. Now, probably a business partner or even your loved ones. And along the line, the connection becomes a little bit distorted. The phone keeps cutting. Two things happen. Either you get frustrated or a little bit angry. Why? Because of the network. Now the question is, why are you being frustrated? Why are you being angry? And the answer is, you might be thinking is a waste of time. And many a times, you drop the call or the other person dropped the call. Or naturally, the phone drops on its own because of the network. Now, what I want to ask is this. When you are having a face-to-face conversation, a business deal, how do you identify when that conversation is not going well? How do you identify that there's no connection? How do you know that the conversation had dropped? Big question. And we try to close deals every day. It is a known fact that all the CEOs, the CFOs, all they know is how much are you bringing to the firm. You might be the best tech person in the company. As long as the sales force is not bringing enough funds into the company, and as long as you are not making any profit, take it or leave it, sooner or later, the company will fold. So, indirectly, it falls back to the sales force. John D. Rockefeller died in 1937 with a personal net worth of $340 billion. Yes, $340 billion. Now, let's take it into perspective. Today, he should be 3 or 4 times richer than the Gates and the Elon Musk of today. Am I correct? Am I correct? Obviously, Rockefeller knows what he was saying. And what did he say? He said, I am going to pay more for the ability to deal with people more than any other ability under the sun. I say it again. I am going to pay more for the ability to deal with people than any other ability under the sun. This is a man with that kind of wealth. I want to believe that he has seen it all. He has closed so many deals. So he knows the essence of communication. He might even be the richest man ever lived in America. And he recognized that the most valuable skill is communication. Let me ask you one question. Can you tell me one of the best subjects years ago in school? Any volunteer? And I can bet to you, one of those subjects that used to be your best, if you look down the road, you have never encountered that subject again. But communication is different. We are social creatures. We talk to each other every day. Now the question is, why aren't we learning communication in school? If we know it's something we cannot do without. And that brings me to the topic of the day. The communication code. Now, people do ask, what do I mean by the connection code? If we are communicating, having a chat with each other, there will be a point that you stand to ask yourself a question. What is he talking about? Especially when you are not understanding or you are not figuring out exactly what he's saying. Now, most of the questions on the poll saying, how do you explain to a non-tech audience? And I find it a little bit fascinating. If I don't even know what a load balancer is, how do you explain it to a non-tech person? Okay, if you ask me, what is a load balancer? Tech professionals, right? If I'm wrong, you tell me. A load balancer, I should say, is a technology that offloads the load to any available server. Am I correct? Please talk to me. Am I correct? Please explain to me. What is the difference? It gives tax to other things. A load balancer offloads. No? So what does it do, please? So at the end of the day, it distributes. So can I liken a load balancer to a manager of a restaurant where there is traffic into the restaurant? So the orders are coming from the customers. Then the waiters serves at, no? Okay. So how do we, okay, so how do we not explain it to a non-tech audience? Boom. That is the hard work. And this is exactly what we need to do in our companies. How do we do that presentation to a CEO who does not even know anything about the technology? How do we close that deal? How do we let the CFO know that this is important? Huge gap in the tech industry. I'll take a quote from George Bernard Shaw. He says that the single biggest problem in communication is the illusion that it has just taken place. I say it again. The single biggest problem in communication is the illusion that it has just taken place. And when he said that, I want to believe that what he meant was we did not even know when the communication did not even happen. And that is what I want us to learn today. Let's go to the slides and look at what I'm trying to explain. Now, there are principles. Oh, sorry. There's no connection. Are we good? Yeah? Good. Okay. Okay. I'm going to take no, sorry. Shane, can you help me, please? Am I not do that, please? This is what I want to see. Yeah, that's it. Is it on now? That's it. Okay. So I'll be talking about the principles on how we can try to improve our communication in the tech industry. The power of active listening. That's very crucial. Can I have 2 volunteers, please? 2 volunteers, please. Don't get cold on me. Thank you. Yeah, come forward. Don't get shy. Yes. Just a simple one, just to. Okay. Thank you. All I want you to do is you'll be talking to him, and I need you, don't look at him, just keep making faces, like don't focus your attention on him.
Do you want me to look elsewhere?
Yeah, just be doing whatever you want to do. Now speak to him.
I'm also not looking at him.
Yeah, no, look at him. You look at him and say what you want to say. You can talk about whatever, about love balance, whatever you want to talk about your loved one, about that lady you liked. Just say something.
Carabiners.
Exactly.
So carabiner, it's a thing that you might need to know about for your life. If you forget to screw it up, then you might die. But I wouldn't like you to forget about that. What do we say? Carabiners, they're made of metal.
Thank you. Now, can you focus on him? Look at him while he's talking.
So, a carabiner. It's this thing you use for climbing. You use it if you remember to screw it up, then it will hold you safe.
Thank you. Now, just one important question. How did you feel? How did you feel when he wasn't listening, when he was doing all sorts of things?
Well, even though I was expecting it, it's still quite off-putting. It's very, yeah.
That is exactly how we feel when we are not listening to our clients. It is something that is so natural that it kills a deal. I'll tell you a story, real life. Thank you so much. Sorry for Valentine. This is for you. Sorry, sir. For Valentine, this is for you. Thank you. That's where I got my principles, written by John Maxwell. Good. Everyone communicates, very few connects. Connection is the foundation of communication. Now, there was a business deal that was supposed to be for 3 years. We handled it for 8 months. On the last day of the oral meeting, where over 66 people in the meeting room, CEOs, CFOs from all over the whole place. Now, the tech person, fantastic, top notch. He was the best. When he was speaking, all the CEOs, everybody in the room, they were all writing, smiling. Then one of the CFOs asked a question. And the tech guy looked at him like, what kind of dumb question? The attitude was off. Instantly, people started dropping their pens and closing the books. And they said, okay, thank you. We'll get back to you. Now, guess what? That was the end of that deal. We did not get that deal. Why? Because of a simple attitude. Attitude is key in communication. Very key. In as much as he was the best top notch, the company had no other choice than to replace him. That's to tell you how deep communication is in the tech industry. Now, let me bring it back home. Bill Gates said, the need to communicate effectively with your customers will come up again and again. There's no two ways about it. You cannot say you cannot do without communication in the tech industry. Absolutely impossible. So it's a skill that we need to learn. There is no natural speaker, there is no natural communicator. Anyone that tells you that he's born a natural speaker, please look at him twice. It is a skill that can be learned as long as you believe that you need it. Power of active listening is something that we need to embrace, because most times what we do, we stereotype or we make up our mind before the speaker finishes what he's saying. Rather than to relax, have the patience to listen, to understand what he was trying to say, then you've already made up your mind what your response will be. And with that kind of attitude, believe you me, your communication, even with your loved ones, will continue to break all the time. Connection in communication is absolutely necessary to even lead a nation, a child, and even in your homes, not talk of the tech industry. Let's go further down to the next one. I'm rushing this because of the time. The slides tells us everything, the empathetic communication. Now, let me read from the scenarios. This is a frustrated developer. Now, situation one. A developer is struggling with a complex bug fix and expresses frustration. Non-empathetic response. Now, listen, please. Very important. Just keep trying. You will figure it out eventually. You see, he focuses on the problem. He focused on the problem and not the person. Now, look at the next one. The empathetic response says, I understand this bug is giving you a hard time. Can you walk me through the steps you have taken so far? Maybe we can brainstorm some solutions together. This is you putting yourself in the other person's shoes. As long as we understand that empathy is one of the keys of communication, team building in any firm will be as solid as a rock. Now, look at the next one. Disengaged team member. Now, situation. A team member seems withdrawn and unmotivated during a project discussion. Non-empathetic response. Are you not paying attention? This is important. Wow. Then the empathetic response says, hey, I noticed you haven't spoken much today. Is there anything specific on your mind about this project? Shows concern. Opens dialogue for potential roadblocks or concerns. Now, many employees are suffering this day by day. But because we can't identify all these little things, the employees keep suffering every day. There's always a ripple effect on the productivity of the company. Now, what happens is because nobody knows what the problem is, they keep laying off, bringing new ones, laying off, bringing new ones without solving the problem. As long as the problem of communication is not solved, the same problem will always be there. Please, fellow tech professionals, this is a message you need to take back home. This evening is so crucial to me because this is a life-changing topic. As long as you embrace this, believe you me, it's not only about your technology. The general life as a whole will improve. Winston Churchill said one day, of all the talents bestowed on men, that the gift of oratory, whoever that used to it is more powerful than a ruling king. How powerful is that statement? More powerful than a ruling king. And I've seen it. Have you asked yourself a question? You are in a team and you are saying that people don't like you. Let me break your heart. It's only because you are not connecting. As long as you connect properly, everybody, whether they like it or not, they will fall in love with you. Whether you know the tech or not, they will embrace you. We are not introverts. For me, that's a might. We can do better. So my word today is get off the keyboard and speak to ourselves. The last one that I love so much is the powerful storytelling. How can you use the storytelling to convey your message? Storytelling is one of the most effective ways to even explain a tech to a non-tech crowd. Has anyone tried it before? There's very few. So we're getting there. So please, I will need you guys that have tried it before to pass the dodge to the left-hand side. Now, powerful storytelling is what? Engaging the audience. Instead of presenting a dry list of new software features, tell a story about the customer's specific challenge and how the new features address that challenge. Humanizing complex concepts. Technical details can be overwhelming, even sometimes. I was talking to Kester earlier on, and he was trying to explain something to me about database. Frankly speaking, some of the things he said, I was just, okay. But I didn't quite understand it. But not because that I do understand part of the side he talked about open source. Now, let me break it out, Kester. Open source is relative to that connection in communication. Because what it does is it embraces all. You don't need any vendor, you don't need anything, you just plug and play. No authorization is needed. Am I correct? But not too much. So, please, we need to keep it simple. I'll tell you a story about a man who spoke in a hall. After speaking, he came out and was shaking hands to everyone. Now, one of the guests said, "Hello, sir. You are smarter than Albert Einstein." He was surprised and flattered at the same time. And he went back to him and said, "Please, what do you really mean by that statement?" The man smiled and said, "Years ago, Albert Einstein wrote something and only 10 people could understand him. But after your speech, no one understood you." And that made him smart. Now you know exactly where I'm going to. That means whatever he did was so complex that no one understood. And that's what we do most times when we speak. We bombard people with informations, trying to prove that we are intelligent. But I'll tell you, it is not about the speaker. It is about the crowd. It is about the audience. The moment the audience is impressed with themselves, that they are happy sitting where they are sitting, then the connection has been made. The connection has been made. I can go on and on and on and on and on about simple words that can break the eyes. Bill Clinton made a statement that captured the crowd. Was it in 1992, when he was asked about how he can handle AIDS? All he said, I feel your pain. I feel your pain. Now, as we have only 5 minutes to go, all I will say to you guys today is, whatever we do, we should try as much as we can to keep it simple. Albert Einstein said, if you can't keep it simple, you don't understand it. If you can't keep it simple, you don't understand it. So the take home today is, let's get off the keyboard and start talking to each other. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. We are going to go to our second speaker now, which is Shane. So Shane, are you on the line? I think Emmanuel, you have to stop your screen share.
Yes, please.
Let Shane take over. Okay, let me come and check. It should just be it's off. All right.
Yep.
Okay, Shane. Over to you.
There you go.
Round of applause, please, to welcome Shane.
Hello. Sorry I'm going over Zoom today. Expected to be there, but feeling a bit under the weather. So I'll be here in my face. How big is my face? Probably like 5 feet tall. I'm not sure if you can see me. Okay. Well, hello. My name is Shane, and I am a software engineering consultant. And I've also been a software engineer for about 20 years now. Currently working at Armakuni, which is a small consulting firm based in the UK. And what I do there, I talk with engineering teams. I talk with lots of engineering teams, and I probably have talked to about a few hundred over just the last couple of years, maybe, and still counting. What I do there, I pretty much find out what their day-to-day looks like. I listen to them, figure out what's holding them back from really just being a high-performing team. And when I'm not talking to teams at work, I have a life surprisingly outside of computers. I'm also an athlete and a coach. And there again, I talk to teams. I must love teams. And of many things, I play a team sport called roller derby. If you've never heard of it or seen it, which I wouldn't be surprised if you haven't, it's a very niche sport. You can imagine rugby, but there's no ball, and because that ball is a person, and everyone is on roller skates trying to kill you. And no, we don't punch each other intentionally anyways. I would like to say that the team that I'm on are good. We're really good. We're actually currently ranked top 3 in Europe and ranked around somewhere in the top 20 in the world. And that's of the 2,000 teams that are playing out there. But I'm not here to brag how awesome my team is in such a niche sport, because I could do that all day. But I do want to tell a story of how our team rebuilt itself during the COVID break and how that relates to software engineering and high-performing teams. So just to recap, a pandemic happened a few years ago. And unfortunately, our sport had to take a pause. We aren't professionals. We didn't get that privilege to continue practicing during the pandemic. But when it was time to get back together, a lot of people actually retired, found new hobbies. I don't know what kind of hobby they would prefer. They didn't want to come back. And some even left for other teams, moved away. And we had some problem with our numbers. We started talking to the people that just didn't want to come back. And they said that some people said that our league was actually kind of stressful. And some said it was even negative. And after speaking to people, we found out we had a problem. We had a lot of problems, but I would like to talk about a very specific problem that we had. We had rock stars. And surprisingly enough, even amateur sports like my own have rock stars, with sponsor deals and guest appearances. And with our team being such high level, we had them. What is a rock star? What is a celebrity personality? What is a TEDx engineer? Well, a celebrity personality or a rock star, so positively put, in a team context refers to that individual who draws lots of attention due to their exceptional skills, charisma, high profile, albeit, yes, they are hardworking and really good at what they do, but often overshadows the contribution of the others on the team. These people are highly skilled, well recognized both within our team, within our league, but also outside. They might have strong personal brands and can even attract significant focus and resources. If you reflect on your own team, you might have a rock star. You might be a rock star. You can think about being a rock star on your own team as a TEDx engineer. So the idea of a TEDx engineer is actually rooted in a study done in 1968 by a group of dudes, Stackman, Erickson, and Grant. And they realized that in this study, they looked at professional programmers with an average of 7 years of experience and found that the coding time between best and worst was about 20-1, debugging times 25-1, programming size 5-1, programming execution speed 10-1. They found no relationship between the amount of experience of code quality or productivity. Sounds great. Those numbers sound great, right? Well, kind of. These numbers make it seem like having rock stars on your team is a no-brainer, right? However, having rock stars actually has several downsides and can actually impact the team negatively if not handled correctly. So I'm going to talk about some of the downsides. I might sprinkle a story or two about roller derby in there. But because of that, I'm going to use a Lion Rockstar band as an example, just to protect personal naming, of course, but also so you can admire my amazing use of ChatGPT images. So first downside is that overshadowing, reduced recognition, and stunted growth. So in regards to this, a lot of teams with particularly uplifted rock stars have reduced recognition on their team. The team might end up focusing on that celebrity personality, which often leads to that reduced recognition, which for the team could actually demotivate them. When team members feel their efforts go unnoticed, they may be less inclined to put in their best work. And with that stunted growth comes with it. So constantly being a shadow of a prominent figure could actually stifle the professional growth of other team members. They might not get the opportunities to lead projects or take initiatives, which are crucial for developing their skills and confidence. This actually is a recent story about my own team. We have an exceptionally talented skater, which was our go-to person when things got tough. Like when we were playing a very difficult team, when the stakes were high, when the pressure was on. Yes, their skills and their abilities were invaluable to the team, but it soon became apparent that the other team members that were on the track with them felt sidelined when that one person would particularly get lots of praise, would be that go-to person, right? So they would drop in engagement and enthusiasm for the people that felt their efforts were not as impactful or wouldn't be inclined to put that best effort next time around because that person's got it. So if you think about it as that rockstar developer, always takes on the most challenging task, and that junior developer or just another developer on the team really may not get that opportunity to tackle these challenges. This can stunt their professional growth. They might not want to put their best foot out there all the time because that person's got it. They're not just given the chance to expand that skill and experience. So in the long run, this results in a team that is less versatile and resilient. Next up, we have ego and conflict. Strong personalities can lead to power struggles within the team, especially if that rock star's ideas and directions constantly overshadow others, just like we were talking about. That can create a toxic work environment where collaboration might be hindered. When high-profile individuals, they might not always be the best communicators either. They might be really good at their job. They might not be the best communicators, especially if they have that significant ego, and they might not be team players at all. This can lead to misunderstanding, resentment, and a breakdown in team communication. So if you can think about when you are in a team meeting or brainstorming sessions where a particular person's ideas and opinions consistently dominate the conversation, other team members actually start holding back those ideas. They feel like they're not as valuable or well received, or, well, that guy is the rock star. They know what they're doing. They have experience. And for so long, my opinion doesn't really matter as much. That can lead to such a lack of diverse perspectives, and just decrease that creative problem solving and innovation you're really looking for in a high performing team. So a more obvious one is that dependency and that single point of failure that we're creating with rockstars. So when we allow our teams to be overshadowed, when we don't create that versatility and resiliency like we we're talking about earlier, when we don't put in that diverse perspective because of that ego and conflict that we're trying to avoid, that power struggle that we're trying to avoid, the cycle starts feeding itself. You start giving more challenging work to that rock star because you know that they can do it, you know they can handle it, while the rest are neglected. So when more challenging work comes in, only the rock star has that capability to do it, or is even motivated to do it. This creates a dependency, creating a single point of failure. So when a rockstar developer, let's say, is the only one who understands also that critical component of a system, and then, God forbid, they become ill, they get sick, right? They go on holiday even, or just go to another company, that entire project can come to a standstill. That can lead to significant project delays, missed deadlines, increased stress among other team members who are now suddenly tasked to figure out what's going on, handling the unfamiliar work, putting themselves under significant pressure that they're not used to because they usually pawn it off on that guy. So thinking about this, yes, rock stars are great. They could be your biggest asset, but making them your biggest asset in this way could also make them your biggest risk. And burnout. So rock stars aren't necessarily the bad guy, right? They are hardworking, high-skilled, charismatic, not necessarily a negative thing. It's how we deal with it. So yeah, not necessarily the bad guy. There's another side of that coin. There is pressure on these rock stars to constantly perform, and it can lead to burnout, affecting that productivity and their own mental well-being, their physical well-being even. They have that excessive workload, right? So giving them constant challenging problems, giving them those challenging tasks, give them high expectations of what they should be able to do, it can lead to that unsustainable workload. And when they continue to get these challenging tasks, they're unable to delegate, and they start basically not learning how to delegate and taking on a lot of work. So since they're perceived as the most capable, they rarely delegate, and they end up bearing the brunt of those responsibilities, which of course then can bring in that constant pressure to perform at such a high level, which could of course be mentally and physically taxing, and the fear of failure, the fear of making mistakes, failure to meet expectations, of course, that chronic stress. Once again, that biggest risk becomes now your biggest asset now becomes your biggest risk, right? It reminds me of a time we went to our roller derby team, went to a really high profile event, a championship event, and we were leaning too much on our rock star. And sadly, neck to neck, we lost. And we haven't lost in a long time, but we lost. And I remember at the hot debrief, like our quick retrospective right after the game, she was in tears. She was saying like there was just too much pressure on me, and people, it was too much stress for her, and she couldn't deal with it, and she didn't want to talk about it anymore, and she burnt out a bit. And that is going to happen to rock stars. And how do we mitigate that? We move that responsibility around the team. Against the flow of the lion, I want to share this real fun graph about that burnout. Yep, how your biggest asset becomes your biggest risk. They take on some of the most challenging tasks, and when they burn out, things can come to a halt. They can leave the company. They can go on sick leave because now they're ill from all that stress. It really does wear you down mentally and physically, and the whole team performance goes down. So rock stars are actually pretty commonplace in not just sports, not just rock bands, but also teams. Does that mean we're all doomed because now we have rock stars on our team? Not necessarily, right? So how can we use rock stars as an advantage? If rock stars are so great, how do we get everyone to have that rock star material? How can we build the depth in the teams? So when my skating team, rebuilt our team, we made a commitment to building depth in our team to make sure that this doesn't happen. So first thing is really important is to foster a learning culture, promote psychological safety, right? So encouraging a culture of continuous learning and improvement where every team member is motivated to develop their skills and knowledge. That culture is the culture bit, not just having a learning event. The culture bit is learning is seen as part of everyday work, not just that occasional activity. And we'll break it down what that actually looks like. But what is psych safety and how do you actually promote that? That's creating an environment where team members feel safe to express their ideas, opinions, and concerns without fear of ridicule or retribution, right? So when people have an idea and they can bring it up, they don't feel like they're going to get dismissed or that they're actually heard and acted upon. We to also do some psych safety, encourage open discussions, and just like Emmanuel said earlier about that active listening during meetings to make sure that everyone's voice is heard and valued. With that learning culture and promoting psychological safety, it really comes with open communication, building trust, and encourage risk-taking. Communication and transparency. So communication and transparency are fundamental to this, to building that trust and ensuring that effective teamwork. So maintaining clear and open lines of communication with the team, regularly updating team members on progress, changes, any issues that arise, and encouraging those team members to ask questions and seek clarification when needed. That really helps tune in everyone to what's going on at all times with everyone's task, any issues to make sure that team cohesiveness is there. Hold regular team meetings, stand-ups, demos, retrospectives to discuss those your progress, roadblocks, things like that. Make sure everyone's on the same page. Promoting open discussions, of course, where team members can feel comfortable sharing their thoughts and feedback, and encourage constructive feedback and using it to improve the processes and performance. So like even on my roller derby team, during and after drills, when we are starting to learn strategy, we allow space for everyone to give feedback, what worked for them, not just the coach or the most experienced. We allow everyone to have a moment where they can raise their hand, say, "Oh yeah, I tried it, and actually this really works for me." So that was really, really helpful to make sure that everyone gets that space. But also, there is no such thing as a stupid question on my team or a stupid tip or advice. So even when people raise their hand, they're like, "Oh, this is a stupid question," we don't actually allow any of that negative talk. There's no such thing as a stupid question. Just tell us, and we're happy to hear it. Of course, another thing about a high-performing team is experimenting, encourage risk-taking. Noted that my line rock star band has started to try country music. But yeah, encouraging experimentation and risk taking is essential for fostering innovation and continuous improvement. It's actually a really high marker or a really strong marker for a high performing team. So trying a new strategy allows different skills to shine as well. So if you change up some things, like, "Oh, we haven't been in this direction before, I'm not really sure. Well, let's try it." And actually, maybe your rock star doesn't have those particular skills, and another one on your team might. So it gives another person the ability to show off what they got. Also, yeah, encouraging team members to try new approaches and ideas, promotes experimentation, providing that safe space, once again, like the psychological safety, where experimentation, where your failure is seen as a learning opportunity. A failure is just a fact, isn't it? It has no morality attached to it. It's nor good nor bad. It's just a learning opportunity to change and pivot into something new. And emphasize the importance of learning from failures, of course, and iterating on those ideas. Got knowledge sharing and collaboration. They're all writing a beautiful music piece now. But yeah, knowledge sharing and collaboration are just crucial for building that strong, cohesive team where, just documentation, sure, like with wikis and blogs, or even promoting just a collaborative work environment where team members can work together, giving that time and space where teams could just sit around and talk in the same area, even remotely. It is really difficult remotely, but my current employer with Armakuni, we love having water cooler chats remotely, where we all just kind of sit in a Zoom room and occasionally ping off information off each other. Doesn't necessarily have to deal directly, like we're not necessarily working on the same thing. We're just in the same Zoom room, so we can feel like in an office sometimes. We enjoy it. There's also knowledge sharing in regards to pair programming to facilitate the real-time knowledge transfer. And of course, frequent demos, which I will talk about. So pairing. So pair programming is a powerful technique, right? So it fosters that collaboration and knowledge sharing. And when I talk about pairing, I don't mean just on the hard things. I talk to so many teams, and when I say, "Do you pair?" they're like, "Yeah, when I'm onboarding a junior or when there's a particularly complex problem." Us at Armakuni, we love pairing, and we love pairing on everything, not just on the hard things, but as many things as possible, because it's not to try to get there faster, but to try to make sure that the whole team can understand the system in the context of what's going on at any time. We remove the idea of that single point of failure. And it's not just that strong style pairing either, where it's just in one direction, where the more experience is onboarding a junior, for example, that senior to junior view. It could be a junior to senior, have that driver navigator switch continuously, or just a senior to senior, just having a peer sit with you and go through it. It doesn't have to be that strong style. Benefits of pair programming is that it facilitates that real-time knowledge transfer between team members, rotating the pairs often, which is key for this. And of course, it improves the code quality, catching errors early, encouraging those best practices, and constantly getting feedback real time, all the time. And of course, promotes that continuous learning as team members can share their skills and insights. Frequent demos. The Rockstar band now is showing off their software skills. But yeah, frequent demos are a great way to showcase progress, gather feedback, and ensure that team alignment. just like with pairing, it's not just the big things, it's the small everyday things. So instead of having demos every 2, 3 months when the big thing is finished, hold those regular demo sessions where team members can present their work to the rest of the team and stakeholders. Even the little things make a big impact. It gets people talking, it gets people on the same page every week, every other week, however often you do them, but do them as often as you can. You can highlight those, not just the key achievements, but understanding those complex systems underneath and what's running underneath them. And of course, you can use those demo sessions to gather feedback from the team and stakeholders, incorporating feedback to the development process and improve the final product. It also ensures that everyone's aligned with the goals and understands what's going on at any moment. And creating balanced teams, giving opportunities. So that skill distribution, ensuring that tasks are assigned not just based on individual strengths, but also areas for growth and work on new and diverse tasks. It gets everyone a chance to try something new, to strengthen, let's say, you could say weaknesses, you could say growth opportunities, but giving people that ability to do that. That's rotating roles and responsibilities. Make sure everyone on the team has exposure to different aspects of the project. It builds that more versatile and resilient team. Example is my roller derby team again. We give every team member equal rotation in play during games, right? So we have different roles on the team, but everyone gets a shot at every role to make sure that everyone has the skills to jump in at any time. So if someone's injured, it doesn't matter. We can just swap other players in, and we'll have full confidence that they're able to perform just like the other person. It also gives people that exposure to playing games when the pressure is on. So that pressure goes from really, really high because you only play every 6 months to you play all the time. It's just another day. And that's really important. And it's made such a significant difference in the way that we treat things, treat game time. So building that balanced team, it provides equal opportunities for all the team members just to take on leadership roles and other significant responsibilities. And it ensures just everyone has a chance to shine and develop their skills. Of course, mentoring. This is where that rock star can really earn their title, right? So mentoring is such a powerful tool for building depth and transferring knowledge within the team. You can, of course, create formal mentorship programs where experienced team members can guide and support less experienced ones, but you should also be encouraging informal mentoring relationships within the team, right? So where team members can seek advice and support from their peers at any moment, just being able that it's that psychological safety, having an open environment where people feel safe to just go up to anyone and start asking questions, getting more knowledge about what they're doing, and not feeling like it's a silly question or anything. Of course, the benefits of mentoring. Mentoring really helps mentees develop their skills, gain confidence, and advance their careers, which of course can improve retainment. And mentors themselves, those rock stars, could also benefit by enhancing their leadership skills and gaining new perspectives. And last but not least, having a team first mentality. So fostering that team first mentality is essential for building those cohesive and high performing teams. Promoting team success, where you encourage a culture where the success of the team is prioritized over individual achievements. Celebrating team accomplishments and recognizing the contributions of all members in the team. And promoting a supportive and collaborative environment where team members help each other and work towards that common goal, and ensuring that the team has those shared goals and a clear vision, aligning everyone's efforts toward achieving those objectives. And that's it. So by shifting from that rockstar centric approach to that team first mentality, we can create that supportive, innovative, and eventually a high performing team that not only enhances individual growth, but also drives that collective success of the entire team. So I encourage you to think about your rock stars, think about the rest of your team, think about how we could all be rock stars, take those strategies back to your teams and just start implementing it. We can build those stronger, more capable, cohesive teams that are ready to tackle anything. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Ooh, thank you very much, Shane. You probably didn't hear the applause there, but there was definitely applause.
Oh, thank you.
I am gonna pop up this questions time. We have probably 2 minutes, so I'll give people a chance to submit questions if they like, or if you're in the room, you can also take one of these beautiful orange cubes and have a question for Shane.
Hi, Shane. Excellent session. How do we encourage the rock stars to share this, like the knowledge that they have? Like, how should we motivate them? Like, I understand.
Yeah.
I've been part of that kind of teams. I've been part of. So how do we encourage? Like, what's it for Rockstar?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, this is really the ability to get rock stars to not just lead, which is a really big advantage to them that can advance their career and expand their own skills and experience, but also it is a bit difficult to get rock stars to slow down, right? So there are those 10x engineers that just put out so much, which is great, but we want to build a whole team of them. So they need to learn how to slow down, which is a skill in itself, to learn how to slow down and mentor. And I really recommend that pairing concept where, like, I talk to so many teams where there are these rock stars that hate pairing because they have to slow down. And it's really encouraging. Like, no, we all pair. That's how we do things on this team. Getting them to do that, they'll slow down and they'll learn a skill in itself.
Okay. Oh, okay.
Hi, my name's Oz. This is
Yeah.
a bit of an opposite question, but I'm hoping that you got some insight into it. What do you do with the opposite of a rock star? Because in some teams you have somebody that is pretty much pairing is not helping them, and you don't want to move to that step of firing them. So, do you have any other strategies apart from pairing that you can use to try and make them at least a contributing member of the team? Don't always
Yeah,
need rock stars.
Yeah, definitely not. Just trying to get them to be amongst the team, right? That is a really difficult one because sometimes their performance might not be what you need for your team specifically. But of course, if you're trying to retain them, yeah, it can be really difficult. I would definitely have that one-to-one mentoring with them, right? It is really difficult because it's such a hypothetical question. But what I like to do with all of my teammates is have that one-to-one and have them identify what they want when they're with you at your company. Like, what do you want out of this team? Can we identify? I like to do um, a SWOT exercise with people where they identify their strengths, their weaknesses, what opportunities they might have, and what things might be risky. But I'm trying to think what the T actually stands for, but it's about risk. Yeah, being able to do that and then start aligning them with things that they can lean into their strengths with, but also figure out what their growth opportunities might be and working on them specifically, breaking down, just like in agile teams, right? Breaking it down into small things that they can actually achieve. Of course, if you're into performance management where they might not be fitted for your team, that's something that you can, give them performance like metrics if that's something you do. It's not something we necessarily do at Armakuni, but yeah, that's what I would suggest is just break it down into small steps and something that's achievable for them.
Okay, let's take a question from the live poll. So what's the suggested approach when the burnt out rock star leaves the team?
Yeah, so that's an interesting one, right? So if, let's say, a burnt out rock star does leave the team, that's a good time to reflect. Why did we have a burnt out rock star? Are we doing things maybe not so great? maybe we have this rock star problem where we didn't necessarily build the depth of the team. And that's exactly what happened to my roller derby team, right? The pandemic happened. We had people leave the team, and whether they were rock stars themselves or people didn't like them, we had to make that commitment to build depth in the team, where we start implementing all of these approaches, where we had to, it's a great time to do it. No one understands a system that they left behind. So let's all get together and all learn what went on. How do we share that knowledge amongst the team and prevent it from happening in the future?
Lots more interesting questions here, but unfortunately we are out of time. So thank you very much, Shane. Another round of applause, please.
Thank you.
All right, so we're now going to go to a 10-minute break. So please go out and grab more drinks and use the bathrooms and whatever else. Come back for 8 o'clock for our third talk. Thank you very much. Also, before you leave today, please do remember to return these fobs. Don't take them with you. Thank you.
Yeah, so we got stumped up by reception and realised that there's no sign in the box to go anywhere. So we just...
You mean the downstairs?
No, we've got up here. There's no sign on the reception desk to say go this way. That's another way to speak.
Oh, okay. Sign. You should know the sign there, yeah. Then it's got missed this time, but and then you made it in. Yeah. Oh yeah.
No, well.
Anyway, I'll update. I think it might have gone to my work now, and then this is anyway, it's the right time.
It's just
Yeah. Yeah. We'll see what next time. Yes. Yeah, it's best for me to see observability. About what's happening. Yeah. Oh. So. Let's talk about observability stuff. So you and I are not the first people I would think of to talk about observability. They control. So, please. Come on in, please sit down. Sit down. We're going to kick off very shortly. Herding cats.
Yeah, I know.
Stop that. All right, we are going to kick off now with our third talk of the evening from Kester. Everybody, please round of applause. Welcome, Kester.
Thank you. There's a lot less people now, which is slightly better. So I'm from a company called MariaDB. I'm not sure if any of you guys have heard of MariaDB or used MariaDB. Anybody pay for MariaDB? Well, if you pay for it, you pay for my wages, which is always good. So that's me. That's a better picture than reality, maybe. So I want to talk briefly about zero downtime of your database layer. Data for a lot of people is very important, and any sort of downtime is pretty problematic these days. So to help with this, MariaDB actually has a product, and our product is called MaxScale. And MaxScale is a proxy server that sits between your application and your database. And it does many things. Who's the guy from HA Proxy? So some people use HA Proxy to distribute traffic between database servers and things like that. I think a lot of people use HA Proxy to do that. MaxScale has a sort of smartness built into it. So MaxScale speaks your database language and it understands the queries that are flowing into it. And therefore, it can redirect your queries out to different servers. So maybe you've got some read replicas, maybe you've got read replicas that aren't very busy, and it can direct the traffic according to the load of the servers. On top of that, MaxScale can actually look after your underlying servers. So lots of people who are using MariaDB or MySQL will be doing asynchronous replication. They'll have a primary server and they'll have a replica server. If the primary server goes down, they will try and promote the replica server to become the new primary. And sometimes that works okay, but most of the time it's a little bit problematic and it takes quite a long time to achieve that. You might have to change DNS records, you might have to point your application to a different server, you might have to turn one on, turn one off. There's different ways of doing it, but you have to go through some process to promote your replica. MaxScale will automatically reconfigure your replicas to become one of the primary servers, and then any of the other replicas will be reconnected to that new primary server. And it looks after that process for you. MaxScale can also take connection streams from different things. For example, Kafka, you can stream directly into MaxScale. Now, this is the high availability bit. So basically, if your primary server fails, MaxScale will elect one of the other replica servers and it will change the other replicas to connect to that new replica. And that can happen in a couple of seconds. When that's happening, MaxScale will hold on to the transactions that are in progress. So your transaction will be paused for that switchover period, and it will be replayed onto the new primary server. So your application doesn't actually see any failure, doesn't get an error. It might get some latency when that switchover is happening, but as far as your user's concerned, when they click that button, it was just a little bit slow. But actually, a couple of seconds later, their query or their insert or whatever they were doing is returned back to them. Now, MaxScale, unfortunately, or fortunately for us, is a paid-for product. It's not very expensive, but we are happy to give you guys a free trial license. And over at the back here is Claudia. Hi, Claudia, who will be very happy to talk to you if you want to try MaxScale out, or if you want to get in contact with me. I've got some business cards, or you can find me on LinkedIn or at MariaDB. So, what does good look like? We can probably argue about this all night, and everybody will have different opinions on what is good or what is bad. But we can probably all agree we've got some users, and our users are on some device, maybe an Apple, an Android, a website, or some sort of on-prem thick Java system, something like that. We've then probably got some application servers sitting somewhere. And hopefully we've got duplicate application servers sitting in a different data center, cloud, availability zone, region. Again, we could talk about the pros and cons of all those different things, but hopefully you've got something that looks a little bit like that. And then you've probably got a load balancer, might be HA proxy. You've probably got a firewall as well, all right? Generally, good design sort of dictates something like that, right? And underneath that, we've got some database servers. And hopefully we've got some spare database servers in another data center. These could be cloud and on-prem, could be different regions, could be different cloud providers. These could be in Kubernetes, could be in Docker containers, could be on virtual machines, thick, heavy machines, whatever it is you need or you use within your organization. Now, to get from your application to your databases, you've probably got a connector. That might be a library that's loaded into your application. It might be some third-party thing. It might be a MySQL or a MariaDB connector. Now, the MariaDB connectors, some of them, quite a few of them, support a technology that allows you to connect to multiple servers at the same time. And I'll show you a little bit more about that in a second. And again, we might have a load balancer. And again, we might have a firewall. So, our connector. Our sequential connector allows you to specify multiple database servers. So if your primary database server goes offline, you could, with the connector and the application layer, try a second, third, fourth server. So you can design your application in that way. Our C connector, for example, will have this functionality in it. Now, databases. I always think things are best in threes. If we're building nuclear power stations or submarines or anything else, 3 of them is good. You've got 2 doing the work, and you've got a spare one in case one goes offline or you're doing maintenance or upgrades or anything else like that. These could be split across different data centers. Hopefully, or possibly, you'll have 3 in each data center. So if one data center goes offline, you've got a duplicate in the other data center. They're probably connected together with asynchronous or semi-synchronous replication, or it might use something like a clustering technology, Galera cluster, something like that. Now, in databases, it's really hard to write to more than one server at the same time. You get conflicts, you get all sorts of things. If you Google multi-master, you'll find loads of websites from 1995, maybe 2000, that say how to set up 2 master servers that talk to each other. That's pretty bad these days. And it's actually, you get a lot of conflicts and you get a lot of problems from that, which become a nightmare to undo if you get a failure. So actually, having one primary server, on mine it's here in green, and lots of replica servers is generally the best way to scale your database layer. So on top of that, we have our load balancer. In this instance, I'm hoping you might use MaxScale. And we don't want one MaxScale in case we have a failure. We probably want 2 MaxScales. Maybe we'll have 4. Maybe we have 2 in each of the different data centers. And we end up with a diagram that you might agree or you might disagree, but looks something like that, right? Hopefully a good application and database design looks something like that. And I spend a lot of my time working with large banks, large organizations, large airlines, talking to them about designs of applications and databases and connectors and everything else. And I reckon that every one of you here today, without even knowing it, has used MariaDB in some way. Your data would have gone through a MariaDB database. If you've got a Samsung mobile phone, any logging in or anything on that has gone into a MariaDB database. If you've used Flight Radar 24 to look at what that plane is, it goes from a MariaDB database. If you've used a Visa card, if you've done 2-factor authentication on your credit card, it's gone through MariaDB. Lots of those people are running something that looks something like this. Now, this is a cloud native meetup, so I thought I'd add a slide called Cloud Native. MariaDB has a Kubernetes operator. So this allows us to deploy for you that infrastructure. Generally, it will give you 3 database servers and 2 max scale servers, because that's what we think is good. You can change that. You can, with your code in a declarative manner, say, I want 5 or 7 or 10 or however many you might need. So our Kubernetes operator is available. I know it's a very long URL there at the bottom, but if you search MariaDB and Kubernetes operator, you'll find the blog about it. It can run on your own data centers. It can run on Azure. It can run on Google. It can run anywhere where you'll find a Kubernetes cluster. It can run on my laptop, and actually it does run sometimes on my laptop. I personally like DigitalOcean. I don't know if anyone else uses DigitalOcean. Yeah, someone at the back there, someone else. I just find it so much easier to use and so much cheaper. So in a minute, I'm going to show you a demonstration using DigitalOcean servers. So if you're interested in an operator, if you're interested in putting your databases inside Docker or Kubernetes or anything like that, we have that stuff for you. And interestingly, our Docker container from Docker Hub has been downloaded over 1 billion times. And that's quite a large number compared to 1 million. 1 billion is significantly bigger. So I'm going to try and do a demonstration. I was hoping that this microphone here might work, but it doesn't seem to. So I'm going to have to hold and type, and I've got some notes just in case I forget what I wanted to show you. So we'll try. It was working a minute ago, so hopefully the internet is still connected and it will work. And again, if you want to try max scale, come see Claudia for me. So DigitalOcean, there we go. I'm running 3 database servers, 2 max scale servers, and 3 application servers inside DigitalOcean. And then MaxScale has this GUI. So I prefer black and white screens. It's where I feel happy. I started doing computing in the middle of the 90s, and that's what we had. We had terminals and they were black and white. So GUIs I'm not always a big fan of, but it looks pretty. It's got some graphs, and actually it's quite useful for maintaining your databases and your max scale configuration. There's a few interesting things here. There's this configuration synced element. So where we can have multiple max scale servers, their configuration can be synced together. And you can see there my 2 max scale servers. We can do some visualizations of what our setup might look like. So again, we've got our database servers. There's a monitor that monitors your underlying infrastructure. And I've got my application listener and service that my application connect into. And it's also got a query editor as well built into it. This is all user control, by the way, so not anyone can just get access to this. But we've got a query that we can run, and that query will then run against our backend database. So that's our GUI, but let's get to where I'm happy, which is with my black and white screens. But I've put a little bit of color on just so we can see the separation, right? So at the top, I've got 3 application servers representing that diagram, that layer. Now, in these application servers, I've got a little Java application that I wrote. Now, I'm not a Java developer, but I got the Java connector and I've connected to it, and it's got the sequential string. And inside that, I am connecting to both of my max scale servers. So if we run a little query on here, sorry, if we run the application, we can see I'm getting a couple of connections into my left-hand side, or my max scale server 1, okay? If I run another one, this is a separate server, I get some more connections into my max scale screen. If I go back to my GUI, we can see those connections coming in here as well. And I can run the last one, and now I should have 6 connections. And we'll see that I've got a primary and I've got some replica servers. So most of you running MariaDB, MySQL databases will have something like that running. Now, if I go to this middle server here, oops, now this is where I need more hands. Just put the watch back on there again. Oh, I still didn't disconnect it. There we go, right. So on there, if I do a systemctl stop max scale, just kill it off, watch what happens to the other max scale screen, right? My connections have gone over to my other server, okay? And we see this. We had an info that there was a failure trying to connect to the server, and it's automatically failed over to the other max scale server. Now, there's no error there. And if we look at the milliseconds it was taking at the time to insert the records, it's not really had any impact into your running MariaDB application. And then if I start that back up again, if I want, I can kill off the other one, and my application still carry on running. Got an error that time, but my application can handle it, and the connector just reconnects and carries on going to my other server. So we get this ability to keep our application and our databases up through the proxy without actually having any problems. Now I'm just going to kill off my running applications up here. Right, that stopped, that started. Let's just restart that again. Start that. Now, if I go back and do that watch command again, so this watch is just running a max scale command on the server because we prefer black and white screens. There we go. Down the bottom are my database servers. Now, database server 1, 2, and 3. I've got a big zoom bar across mine, so I can't actually see what it says. But yeah, 1, 2, and 3. Now, reconnect our application again. We've got some connections coming back in through to max scale. Our application is running. Now, on my primary database server, I'm going to do systemctl stop MariaDB. We're going to just kill it off, okay? Kill the process. Now, if this was your live application running, you're going to get all sorts of alerts and warnings and application problems. Let's watch what max scale does. Oh, I've killed them all. If you kill them all, then your application goes away. I've got the shared stuff on. There we go. Right, ignore that bit. If you kill them all, there's no database. Right, let's make sure I'm not running the same command on all servers. There we go. Right, systemctl stop. Let's get another one up here running. There we go. Chuck some more connections in. Let's get another one running. Some more connections coming in. Something like that. Now let's do a systemctl stop MariaDB on my master server. You'll see the server is detected as down, and my next server becomes the master. Okay, that took about 6 seconds to happen. Out of those 6 seconds, there's a health check running. So actually, I'm pinging my max scale server every second 3 times. So half that time was max scale deciding that my application server had gone down. And you can change that, right? You can have more hits, less hits, bigger time, less time. After those 3 seconds, it promoted one of my replicas to become the new primary server. Any transactions that were happening, that were in progress, did not error, didn't fail. Yes, there was some latency, but they got rerun on my new primary server. And my other database server was reconnected to the new primary server, right? Now, if we restart MariaDB on that server, we can see that, I'm going to move that out of the way, we can see that the server should come back online. Interestingly, it hasn't come back online as a slave server just yet. And that could be because of something stupid that I've done. Let's have a quick look. Put the microphone down. Show slave status. Right. I've broken replication on that server, which is very useful because what I want to show you next is how with MaxScale, if we've got a broken replication server, or if we're adding new servers into our system, so if we're building up, if we're scaling out, how we can add more servers. So what MaxScale has is this command, and it's quite a long command, so I'm just going to nick it off the sheet here, which is max control, and then it is call command. I'm not typing, am I? See, I just can't multitask. What's happened to that? I've actually lost the prompt. Hang on a second again. Live demonstrations and all of that. Right, there we go. Max control, call command. So the monitor that I have running is my MariaDB monitor. And we have this command called async rebuild server monitor server. So hopefully, if I've typed all of that correctly, this should now, see over here now, it's stopped one of my replicas. It's stopped this MariaDB database and it's rebuilt it as a slave server. So we had a failed replica. It wasn't working. It had this error in the log file. MaxScale can rebuild failed servers for us. And that same technology can be used to introduce or to scale your workload. So that is MaxScale in some of its magic. Now, when I go off to lots of large companies, there's a big bank just round the corner here. It's an German bank. There's another bank over in the city. And when we go and talk to these people, they say to us, upgrading is really problematic. How do you security patch the operating system? How do you upgrade MariaDB? How do we migrate to a new server? It's pretty scary stuff, right? You want to stop a database server, you want to run some changes on it, and you want to bring it back online again. Like the change management process that these companies have to go through for that is scary. So what I like to show them is something like this. I'm just going to run my connections again, right? Just so that we know there's workload going into my servers. I'm going to stop the server that's now my primary server. There we go. MaxScale's detected that it's down. And I'm hoping, there we go, we get a primary server somewhere else. So this is my live production system. I can stop the databases running. Now, I'm going to just put the microphone down. Right, so we're using Yum, and my Yum points to the MariaDB repos. These are probably going to be your own secure repos if you're inside that sort of organization, or they might just pull from MariaDB. But I'm going to upgrade. So we're running MariaDB 10.6. If we do, I'll do it on this one. Oops. You'll have to trust me, they're all the same for a second. MariaDB -- version. We're running 10.6.17. So I'm going to try and do a yum upgrade. Maria. I can't do it in my hand. Yum upgrade. MariaDB. There we go. So it's found the packages it's going to upload, right? And hopefully they'll be pretty quick. Yeah, so you can go from 10.5 to 10.6. 10.6, well, 10.7 doesn't exist yet, but you can go the major versions. What we need to run at the end of this is the MariaDB upgrade script, and that updates the internal system table files, right? So there we are, doing a patch. My patch is complete. We'll run the MariaDB upgrade. Is it upgrade? Something like that. I need to start database first, sorry. There we go. We do an upgrade, right? That server, we'll see, is coming back online up here. The GTIDs have caught up. My application's finished. Let me go back to my application again. Get this running. Let's do a watch up here so we can see. Okay, so we've got some connections running to that upgraded replica server. And just to prove that that's not a fluke, I can go over here and do a system CTL stop MariaDB. There we go. It's down. The connections have gone. Check our applications. Yep, they are still all good and they're still running. Just down a second. Upgrade. Yeah. Yum upgrade MariaDB. Yeah, 11's not an enterprise version yet, but yes, you can go to it. From 9 to 11, yeah. Yep. Absolutely. Yeah. As long as you go through, like, technically, you should be able to go from like 10.5 to 11 or something, but we normally recommend you go through each of those steps. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So we'll just say yes. 3 minutes. Yep. This is my last bit. I'm almost done. That half hour went really quickly, didn't it? I'm sorry about that. The other half hours, I was thinking, oh, I've got loads of time. Right. There we go. Running, running, running. It only goes as fast as my cheap DigitalOcean servers, I'm afraid. There we go. I'm too tight for the expensive ones. Right. System CTL start MariaDB and MariaDB upgrade. Okay. Let's make sure we've still got some workload running. Yeah, workload's going. Servers are still happy. And my slave is back online, caught back up. So we can do that on the third one, but I've been told I'm out of time. But that allows you or helps you to do upgrades of MariaDB databases. And if I come and see you in a professional capacity, this is the sort of work that I'll be doing with you to help you upgrade your databases. And that's all I've got time for. I hope that was useful.
Thank you. We've got time for one or two questions, maybe. So, what kind of distributed algorithm is used when choosing which server is master when the real master has gone down?
Well, that depends on your settings. I don't know who's asked, is that an internal question here? But within max scale, there's various things it can check. So the replica that's responding the quickest, the replica that's the closest, or you can specify a priority order. So you can say, I want this replica to always be the quickest. If this replica is over in a different data center, the latency might be bigger. So it won't choose that one unless you tell it to choose that one. But it will keep choosing one until you've got none left. Okay.
Next one. Can the Kubernetes operator handle upgrades?
from Steve Wade. Steve Wade is watching on YouTube because he messaged me a minute ago. Hi, Steve. So can the Kubernetes operator handle upgrades? Absolutely. That's all part of the operator, right? So in there, you can specify the version that you're running, and you can say go from 10.5 to 10.6 or whatever those versions might be.
One more will squeeze in. When it comes to data synchronization between geographically separate data centers, does it still depend on the underlying data center replication product / technology, or does Maxscale offer anything quicker for quicker data synchronization?
No, the one thing I can't do is make the electron move faster. And I'm having this conversation with Emirates quite a lot at the moment because they're trying to have data centers in different regions in the world. And they want something like a, below 50 millisecond response time. But when you've got data centers that are 200 milliseconds apart, we can't make that go any faster, I'm afraid.
You tell me you can't make it move faster than the speed of light? I'm disappointed. All right. Thank you very much. Round of applause, please, for Kester. All right. That is it for us tonight as well. We will be back again on the first Wednesday of each month. So have a lovely evening. Don't forget to return your key fobs. And maybe I'll see some of you down in the pub downstairs. Thank you very much.